in for District 1.
Hello, everyone. How we doing? 91 days to the election. Not that we're counting, huh? This is fantastic. First of all, there's a lot of things you could be doing this morning, but you showed up here. So I want to tip my hat to you and thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be here. Volunteerism makes a difference. I coached basketball team at Dubuque Senior High School for quite a few years. We hadn't had a winning record in 20 years. And when I got there, the biggest thing I had to overcome was this concept of team. Okay, it's not about individual players. I coached a lot of players from the inner city of Chicago. It's about team. And I'm sure the senator would confirm this. This is a team effort. It's not just the candidate. We're working hard. We need every one of the volunteers to give a little bit of time, and we can make this happen. Because we've got a great lineup of candidates, do we not? Governor Branstad told me when I was campaigning with him a couple of weeks ago, he said, Rod, this, I believe, is the finest lineup of candidates from top to bottom we've had in the state of Iowa since he's been governor. That's saying a lot. Yeah. I go to Washington, D.C. about once a month lately to raise money. And when I say, hey, I'm Rod Blum from Iowa, they go, oh, Iowa, Joni Ernst. I go, yeah. They said, can she win? Can she win? Yeah. I don't say yes, I say heck yes, she can win. So we've got a great lineup. Our time is now. Our message is correct. And I know you may be sitting there thinking, can one person make a difference? One person, my friends, can and has made a difference. Let me give you one example. Black Hawk County, second largest county in this district. We have a 75-year-old retired UAW worker from John Deere who said, I'll make phone calls, Rod, but I don't have a computer, and I don't have one of those cell phones. I'll do it with my landline, and you give me the pieces of paper, and I'll check the boxes. This gentleman called every single primary Republican voter in Black Hawk County for us. We knew if we won Black Hawk County, we'd win the primary. We got 60% of the vote in Black Hawk County. I just want to leave you with, let's not wake up on November 5th and say, you know, if I coulda, shoulda, woulda. I talked about that in my companies when we grew companies. Let's not be if I coulda, shoulda, woulda people. Let's not wake up and see that we now have Representative Lundby instead of House Representative Ken Reiser and not be saying, you know, if I would have went to the victory office one more night and made 10 more phone calls, Ken Reiser would be in the Iowa House. Let's not wake up November 5th in the morning and open the paper and see United States Senator-elect Bruce Braley and say, you know what, I could have gone to the victory office, or I could have knocked on 20 more doors and Joni Ernst to be a United States Senator. And certainly let's not wake up November 5th morning and see that now we now have Congressman-elect Pat Murphy because we could have made a few more phone calls, got a few more absentee ballots. Let's not be if I coulda, shoulda, woulda people. And I'll just leave you with this. One of our founding fathers, Samuel Adams. And yes, there was a time in my life when I thought Samuel Adams was just a beer. I must admit that. Samuel Adams always said, you know, it doesn't take a majority to prevail. Rather, it takes an irate, tireless minority who are willing to set brush fires of freedom and liberty in the minds of their fellow citizens. That's what we are. We'll be an irate, maybe not so irate, but at least tireless, small group of people who are very motivated to change the direction of this country, and we can make a difference, and we can change the direction of this country. And so I'm so happy to be here, and thank you so much for being here. Now it's my honor to introduce the senator, and I do have to say one thing. I feel overdressed, first of all. Secondly, he's wearing cowboy boots. I was at a Iowa Firearms Coalition rally with Congressman Steve King. And Steve walked up to me. He's a pretty bright guy. We'd all agree with that. And he had a pair of shiny cowboy boots on, leopard skin or lizard skin or some kind of fancy skin. I don't know what they were. And I said, Steve, you have been in Washington, D.C. too long. He said, why do you say that, Rod? And I said, well, look at your boots. I said, those things things have never been out in the field. I said, look at mine. Mine were dirty, old, had some mud on them. I said, these have been out in an Iowa farm field. And without missing a beat, Congressman King looked at me and said, where did you rent them? Smart guy. It's my honor and pleasure to introduce to you the Senator, and I'd like to mention a couple of things. I admire a lot of things about Senator Paul, but a few of the things I think are very important that he's been doing. First of all, he's been growing, or trying to grow the Republican Party. And I think that is very important, particularly with youth. In the last 15 months traveling the district, almost every Republican I talk to say, Rod, we need young people in this party. We need the youthful enthusiasm and energy that they bring. And Senator Paul has been going places where Republicans don't typically go, like Harvard University, like Berkeley University. These are not exactly bastions of conservatism, I don't believe. But his message of liberty and of freedom and of opportunity resonates with our youth and is bringing new people into our party. And I just thought it was this striped shirt I'm hearing about last night that the youth love so much. I mean, is that something to do with it?
They told me at Okoboji you got to have a wild shirt, so I put my best wild shirt on. Give me a hard time.
It's been making the round. Secondly, Senator Paul has been a tremendous check in Washington, D.C. to an out-of-control president who on a daily basis sticks his finger in the eye of the Constitution. The number one question, Senator, I get asked on the campaign trail the last 15 months is, how does President Obama and his administration get away with, fill in the blank, how does he get away with selectively enforcing parts of DOMA? How does he get away with selectively delaying parts of Obamacare? How does he get away with the NSA spying on American citizens without a warrant? How does his Justice Department get away with wiretapping AP reporters without a warrant? How does he get away with fill in the blank? How does Hillary Clinton get away with Benghazi? I get asked that more than anything, and Senator Paul has been tireless in his efforts to be a check to an out-of-control president. And lastly, I'd like to say I believe Senator Paul is a tireless campaigner. I know he's in the state for 2 or 3 days, and he's been out in the western part of the state, and he's been with Steve King, I believe, and he's here with us today, and I'm very appreciative of that. And I'd like in front of all these people to invite you back to a campaign for our campaign, Senator, either in September or October.
Thank you.
They told me to put you on the spot. So it's my pleasure, I won't speak too long, it's my pleasure to introduce Senator Rand Paul.
To be here today to officially endorse Rod Blum for Congress. Hey, all right. And I may not know a lot about campaigning, but I do know Chuck Grassley. And I'm thinking, you know what, if I were running to be the other U.S. Senator, would I try to trash Chuck Grassley and farmers in one sentence? So I'm thinking that maybe Iowans will say, you know what, we'd rather have a farmer and Chuck Grassley have the judiciary than a lawyer any day. And I'm a physician, so you don't have to convince me too much that there are other people besides lawyers that we could have.
Amen.
Rod mentioned about how sometimes one person can make a difference, and that's amazing how one person made 1,000 phone calls. It can make a huge difference. When I first started running, I was a physician, still am a physician, I'm an ophthalmologist, and I had one little space in the back of my office, and before I announced, some guy came in and started volunteering. He was there every day, month after month after month. So we were back there plotting strategy one day, and we had heard that Sarah Palin was a little bit inclined my way. And we were plotting how we would get her endorsement. You know, calling people, sometimes you don't get them. You get their person who gets their person and their person. And so this guy wanders in from Litchfield, which is a small town in Kentucky, about 45 miles from where I live. And he said, what are y'all doing? I said, well, we're trying to figure out how we can get Sarah Palin's endorsement. He says, consider it done. And then, you know, you take it with a grain of salt when people say they're going to help you. Can they really do? He says, I'll take care of it. He walked out. We didn't think anything of it. And about 3 weeks later, we got a call from him, and he said, oh, Sarah Palin's going to endorse you tomorrow. And we said, really? And we said, how do you know that? And he said, well, I went home, and I wrote a registered letter, certified letter to Wasilla, Alaska. She read it, and she called me today and said she was going to endorse you. we had another instance like this. My kids grew up and went to Catholic school from kindergarten through 8th grade. And one of their teachers called me up one day and she said, well, my dad is a physician, you're a physician, he's a Republican, I think he would like you, call him up. So it was in a far eastern county up in the Appalachian Mountains, fairly rural, but maybe 20,000 people live in this county. Her dad was 75 years old and had been a family doctor for 40 years in that community. You think he wasn't well respected and everybody knew him? We hit it off and he said he would endorse me, he became my chairman for the county, but a person like that can carry a county. So it is one person at a time. And so here I am going around the country saying, well, how do we get the party bigger? It still is one person at a time. It's one idea at a time. It's talking in a way in which we feel like we can connect with more people. But I will tell you, this may not be a secret, President Obama won twice, okay? So we need to be bigger somehow. There's not enough of us. Rod's trying to take a seat, it's an open seat, right?
Yes.
So Rod's seat he's trying to take is open, but I'm guessing, what do they rank it? A little slightly Democrat or slightly Republican? Which way?
Democrat.
They rank it slightly Democrat. So it's not a cakewalk. For Rod to win, it's got to be a big year. Do I think it's going to be a big year? Yes. I talked to Governor Branstad. He also thinks it could be the biggest year since '94. But it's not going to happen by accident. People are very unhappy with this president who has overstepped his authority in every possible way imaginable, and they have a chance to vote for Rod to send the president a message. So it may well happen, but it's going to need each and every one of you to get out and help. It's not just your precinct, your neighborhood anymore, and particularly if your neighborhood is one farm that's 1 mile away and a mile away, walking's not so easy. But people are talking about your virtual precinct now. What does that mean? It means all your friends on Facebook. And so if you've got 200 friends on Facebook, that's your precinct. You got to bug them to vote for Rod, and then you got to bug them to get them out. That's the way the new way of campaigning is happening, is electronically connecting with your friends. That's even an old word. Digitally connecting with friends. Reminds me of when we first got our first microwave, we called it the electronic oven. You say that or mimeograph. Ooh, you're really dating yourself. I'll try not to do that. Rod mentioned coaching, and I always tell people there's one thing I will not divulge. I'll answer any question, but I will not divulge my win-loss record. I was kind of more into trying to teach the kids to play and to be good sports about it, and they'd be crying because they got beaten in baseball, and I said, well, guys, you got second place tonight. Come on. And they're like, Dad, we lost by 20 runs. So I still haven't given up on sports, and I played for the Republican team in Washington. The Democrats beat us 27-0 last year. We came back this year, and we've been practicing, thinking we can beat them, and it's like, no, really, the only way we beat them is, they have a guy who played college baseball on the Democrat team. I said, the only way we beat them is we either term limit him, run somebody against him in the primary, or since Democrats love regulation so much, we would have a regulation that says he can only pitch for 2 innings. And the Democrats haven't been very interested in any of that. Regulations are fine for somebody else, but not for them. Yeah. Our message to win has to be bigger, better, and bolder. Some people say, hey, why don't we just be kind of like the Democrats, but a little different? Why don't we dilute our message, not be so into what we're for? Let's try to be more like the Democrats, and then we can win elections. I couldn't disagree more. I think we need to be boldly, in fact, maybe more boldly for what we're for, but then we do have to reach out to people who aren't where we are. If you own a small business in town, likelihood is probably 80% you're Republican, because you understand being an entrepreneur, you understand paying taxes, you understand employing people. But what we need to do is take our message to the people who work for you. We need to take our message to the workers, to the young people, and we need to make them understand that big government isn't helping you. Big government's been they've been saying for 4 decades they're going to get rid of poverty and unemployment. We have the first African-American president, but black unemployment is still twice white unemployment. Black teenage unemployment is 3 times white teenage unemployment. And I'm not saying the president doesn't care, or maybe that he's not trying, but it has to be about policy. But if we want to get the votes and get people who are working class folks or retired folks, senior citizens, they have to feel like that we care about where they are. So it's not that they're opposed to it. If you're a senior citizen, you live on $700 a month, You don't hate a balanced budget, but you want your $700 a month. You can't exist without that. But what we have to explain to them is that when government is so big that we're borrowing $1 million a minute, that deficit is paid for by diluting the value of your currency and your prices rise. So if you live on $700 a month and your gas goes up, gas has doubled under President Obama. Is gas twice as scarce? No, your money's worth half as much. We have a $17.5 trillion deficit, adding $1 million every minute. We need to take the message to the working class and to senior citizens who live on fixed income and say, look, the reason you can't get ahead, the reason you can't take a vacation this year because gas is so expensive is because big government and debt is devaluing your currency. It's shrinking the value of your currency. If we take that message, we can expand it. If we can take the message to young people, they don't really care so much about taxes. They've got school debt, and they've all got a cell phone. Those are probably the two things they all have. They all have a school debt, and they've all got a cell phone. Well, we should tell them that the Republican Party is the party of the Bill of Rights. We believe in the Second Amendment, but we also believe in the Fourth Amendment. At the time of the Revolutionary War, John Adams said the spark that lit the revolution was our unhappiness with the king for something called writs of assistance. Writs of assistance were generalized warrants. They had no one's name on them, and the British soldiers could go in anyone's house. Why? Because they had passed the Stamp Act, a tax on your papers. So they couldn't find out if you'd used it unless they came into your house unannounced and rifled through all your papers. So we wrote the Fourth Amendment. We said it was specific to a person, to a place, to an items, and the police didn't get to make the decision, a judge did. You have to ask a judge for probable cause. This is the bedrock of what we're founded upon. But I can tell you, young people who have no money, who don't care about regulations and taxes, do care about privacy. So we should be the party that defends privacy, that defends the Fourth Amendment equally as well as the Second Amendment. I think if we are, young people will come to us, because young people frankly say, leave me alone. The government should leave me alone. And if they want to look at my stuff, get a warrant. And I'm not against people looking. I'm not against trying to find information to catch terrorists. Do it with a warrant. I met with a previous high-ranking CIA, NSA official about a week ago, and he admitted if we get warrants, we get tons more information anyway, because then we're allowed to look at everything. But you just have to convince a judge that there's probable cause. But these are ways we can reach out and get more people. We got to get more people. We got to get working class people. We got to get more students, more young people. We need to, frankly, have a more diverse party. We need more African Americans, Hispanics, Asian Americans, you name it. So we have to be the party that's going out and welcoming new people into our party. When we do, we'll be the dominant party. We need to be the party that's also boldly for the things we're for. If we want to try to stimulate the economy, President Obama and his party want to take your money, send it to Washington, swirl it around the bureaucracy, and then give you a little bit back. We need to be the party that says, if Iowa wants to be richer, if Iowa wants to be more successful, if Iowa wants to have more jobs, let's just leave more money in Iowa. I say it all over Kentucky. So this means if you get wishy-washy Republicans who say they're for revenue-neutral tax reform, tell them to go back to doing whatever they were doing and we'll elect somebody new. Because really, we need to be for reducing taxes. When Reagan reduced tax rates, 20 million jobs were created. And he didn't just reduce them on the middle class, he reduced them on everybody. Because frankly, the rich own the companies, and they pay all the taxes. So we have to reduce everybody's taxes. Reagan reduced the top rate from 70 to 50, from 50 to 28. 20 million jobs were created. We had 7% growth in a year. You know what we had last quarter in this country? Minus. We had negative growth in the last quarter. So really, we do need to think and fulfill the message we have, and it is a message of growth, it's a message of hope, and it's a message for everyone. I think if we do that, you can get Rod elected, you can get Joni Ernst elected, and Iowa goes from being purple back to red. I hope to be part of it. Thank you for coming out.